At the new ranch, Nikki walks down the stairs, smiles, and Victor admires her look. The new CEO of Chancellor Industries. Nikki gushes about building on Catherine's legacy. He asks, "Are you ready?" She is more than ready, and thanks him. Victor shows Nikki the online write-up about her taking over. She's thrilled as it makes her sound pretty important. Victor says there's a lot of articles. She's the lead story. Nick, Victoria, and Claire come in with gifts to wish her luck on her first day. There's a framed photo of Nikki, Victoria, and Claire for her office from Claire, and Nick gives her an orchid. Victoria gives her a framed message, "Remember to breathe." Nikki is so excited for her new adventure. "I am just so blessed." They each hug her, and Nikki asks Claire if she'll accompany her to the office. Nikki reminds her granddaughter how well they worked together before, and makes her pitch. Claire is flattered. Nikki asks, "But still no?" Claire says it's not no. Things are different now, and she'd be honored to accompany her to work on her first day. At Chancellor, Billy puts his belongings into a box. His phone rings. It's his mom. He declines the call. Soon after, he gets a text from Jill telling him to please stop ignoring her. She knows he's mad and asks to talk this through. Billy sighs. Opening his laptop, he video calls her. He only called her back so she could see that he's packing up his office because he was dumped, for Victor Newman, no less. Jill is upset. This isn't the way she wanted it to end. Billy doesn't want to hear that this was his fault. He wants to know what got him fired. Jill had to protect the company. He left her no choice. Billy says, "Isn't choosing your family usually the right thing to do, Jill?"
Jill tells Billy he's hurt her. Billy replies that it doesn't feel very good, does it? He complains that she tossed him aside when Victor turned up the heat. Jill says it's typical of him not to take responsibility. He fired Lily and hired Phyllis. Billy says Phyllis wanted to fight for the company. Jill owed it to Catherine to keep Chancellor safe and thriving. She didn't have the stamina to do it anymore. Billy snarks, "Oh, the sick card." He complains that she sandbagged him. Jill asks if he's considered how hard this decision was for her. "I wanted you to succeed." Billy argues that she set him up to fail so they could all say he couldn't hack it. He's owned up to his past mistakes, but that's not what happened here. She lost her nerve, jumped ship, and left him high and dry. He disconnects. Just then, Nikki appears with Claire. "Billy? What are you doing here?" Billy tells Nikki he's packing up his office. He didn't expect her at the crack of dawn. She knows it's a hard day for him. Billy knows Victor is a cutthroat son of a bitch, but he expected more class out of her. Nikki says she's defended him in the past. This was a business decision. Billy says he got to give her something she wanted and screw him over in the process. Nikki confirms she wanted this very badly. Billy asks if she has any remorse for how this affected Lily. She sat that while Victor led her on. It was a lie. Are you okay with the way that happened, or what that just business? At the Abbott mansion, Diane tells Jack he won't believe what the lawyers found. He guesses that Glissade is a shell of a company, and Victor sold off all of the divisions before handing it over to her. She gawps. "You knew about this?" Jack says a contact in Europe told him he was trying to break the company up and sell it for parts. Diane asks, "Why didn't you tell me?" Jack wanted to see if he could pull it off. Diane complains that he doesn't seem very concerned about this. She's upset that Victor once again will have the last laugh. Jack isn't so sure about that. Diane senses he's got something up his sleeve, something that will put Victor in his place once and for all. Kyle comes downstairs and says he's going to the gym since he no longer has a job. Jack tells him they have more information if he wants to hear it. It's about Glissade. Kyle asks, "What about it?" Jack says Victor signed it over to his mother. Kyle scoffs. Was this part of his mother's plan to teach him a lesson? Diane says it was. Jack asks if he learned anything at all from this. Did anything sink in? Victor's still the devil, and his parents fooled everyone. Jack asks what he learned about himself. Kyle says, "I was angry. I was really, really angry. With Jack for not giving him what he thought he deserved, and with Diane for old stuff. He thought she was the one who didn't give a damn." Diane tells him he doesn't know how hard it was for her to keep it up. Jack says they knew it was the only way to tear him away from Victor. Kyle owns that. He should have known the only interest Victor would have in him was to get to his father. He was blinded by rage and realizes he never forgave Diane for leaving him when he was a kid. Diane cries that she ruined things and abandoned him. She's just so sorry that this has brought all that up for him. Kyle says, "Yeah, I guess I owe you an apology too." When they were working together, she accused him of trying to undermine her. She was right. He was, without even realizing it, trying to sabotage her. At the ranch, Victor talks to Nick and Victoria about how happy Nikki seems. Nick gets a text and says he has to go. Once alone, Victor asks his daughter if she's still upset with him about Billy Boy. She doesn't understand why she had to humiliate him like this. Victor reminds her what he's put her and the children through. Victoria's sure that her father will now be her ex-husband's obsession. A Billy Abbott with nothing to lose is a very dangerous man. At Chancellor, Nikki tells Billy she tried to get Lily to come and work with her. Billy scoffs. She offered her second in command so she'd get all the glory. Turning to Claire, he says, "It's the Newman way." Nikki's surprised he's suddenly so concerned about Lily since he fired her in the first place. Billy agrees it was stupid. He was righting that wrong when the rug was pulled out from under him. Nikki says Jill had to save Catherine's company from being tarnished. Billy says that's garbage, and under her self-righteousness, she knows he's right. He warns Claire to stay away from the Newmans, other than her mom. Don't learn the hard way like I have. At Crimson Lights, Sharon looks uncomfortable as her patrons eye her up and shake their heads. Nick comes in, and she takes him to the patio to say she's notorious now. He suggests she let Esther run the place. Sharon feels she deserves this. He asks about her good news from the doctor. Sharon says the doctor changed her meds this time, and she can feel a real difference. Nick thinks that's great. This could also help your case. If it's on record that she was struggling with her medication, Michael could use that for her defense. Sharon says she's a lost cause. She thinks the insanity plea is a mistake. They discussed this. She argues that he and Michael discussed this. She wants to accept the consequences of her actions. Nick says that's a life sentence. She was doing things that were out of character due to her meds. Sharon says that at the end of the day she knew what she was doing. Nick thinks there are extenuating circumstances that the judge and jury need to hear. Sharon thinks they would see through an insanity defense. And he needs to be prepared for that. Billy drops in to see Phyllis at the hospital. He guesses he was off base when he called her suspicions about Sharon a conspiracy theory. "Are you still talking to me?" Phyllis is surprised he's there. Billy says things have been crazy in his world. He asks how she's doing. She says the crash threw her for a loop. Elena said I can go home this afternoon. Billy says that's great. They go over her being relieved the charges have been dropped against Daniel, and her being right about Sharon. Phyllis asks why he's there. "You look like you lost your best friend." Billy says he lost control of Abbott Chancellor, and his mother sold it to Victor. Phyllis gawps. "Oh my God, that's cold, even for Jill." Billy says he lost it all. "I've got nothing." At Chancellor, Nikki tells Claire that Billy's angry and likes to go scorched earth. Claire admits that Victoria is really torn about this takeover. She's worried about Johnny and Katie. Nikki says he's a good dad. She doesn't want to see the kids pushed in the middle of this. Claire doesn't see how they won't be. Nikki hopes they understand. She hopes this doesn't stand in the way of Claire accepting a position there. Claire asks what really happened with Lily Winters. Nikki tells Claire that Lily expected to run the company again, but the plan was to put her in charge. She was crushed when the truth came out. She explains that Victor believes she should work with her family. She wasn't happy with that. Nikki regrets how he handled things and hopes one day she'll forgive her. As for now, they've made an enemy of a woman she greatly admires. She asks Claire if she'll still consider working there with her. At the Abbott mansion, Kyle tells Diane she didn't deserve for him to make her look bad at Jabut. She says he didn't deserve for her to take the job he felt he should have had. Kyle says his dad must have seen something in her that he couldn't. Jack thinks he could have handled it better. Diane wants to move forward. Kyle wants that as well, but isn't sure how right now. He walks out. Sharon warns Nick that her going away will be devastating for Faith. Nick gives her his word he'll be there to help launch her into the world. Sharon doesn't know what she'd do without his strength and support. She wonders why he doesn't hate her. Nick has known her most of his life. He cares about her and won't abandon her ever. In the hospital, Phyllis tells Billy she's so sorry. She'd be sorrier if he hadn't already thrown her under the bus. Billy needed to buy time. He doesn't want to talk about Jill anymore. I'm done there. Victor, on the other hand, needs a taste of his own medicine. Phyllis jokes that she'll forward his mail to the cemetery. Billy says she hates him just as much as he does. He's thinking that when she gets out of there, they should team up and bring Victor down together.